Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. I wanted to make a real quick video here on my break talking about Slope's game room and the difficult situation that he's in. Let me tell you guys, this is let this be a warning to everybody, right? Terms of service is the dictator that rules us all, right? But it's a huge difference. For example, for my channel to be shadow banned, right? There's just a hobby channel that I don't know what I've made this year, like 180 bucks maybe tops. And somebody that does it for a living, right? Like Slope's Game Room. It's a huge problem when you get into these kind of issues with any platform. Now, I can't give you any help because nobody at, you know, Google likes me, apparently. But what I can give to him and everybody else is, my advice on business. Right? That is my strength. That is what I do. That's what I did last night. Jesus Christ! I just finished uh, I did like a 337 entry analyzing the income for a company over 10 years because they have seasonal sales and they, want to create a better model for them where they can actually do their budgetary commitments based on, an average revenue through the year. But here, uh, in this case, when you're a YouTuber, right, when you are dependent on social media for an income, right, and you've chosen that as your career, you can't view any platform as your main source of income, right? They're just revenue streams for your business. You have to remember this is a business and you have to run it as a business, right? A business typically does not put all their eggs in one basket, right? And especially in the case where they can actually, completely disappear you. This man has 10 years worth of videos. I mean, that's how much content we're talking about, and it would be, I'm sure he has it backed up, but it's never fun. You go through all kinds of issues. If let's say they disappeared his channel, you know, today, and there's some troll out there that has copies of his videos, he could upload them, and then he would have to have the whole, like the troll could copyright strike him, like we've seen in other cases, and then they're going back and forth, and it's just a horrible nightmare, that you're going to go through, and you put yourself in that position um, because you only have one real source of income, right? Which is in the majority. And what you have to do is diversify as a business. That's what businesses do. So let's go over through some steps, right, that you could do if you decide to be a content creator, right? Number one is you have to be multi-platform, right? You have to establish a presence everywhere. Put content in other platforms, whether it's Patreon, Twitch, Rumble, Kick now, whatever it is. You have to be diversified, right? And within that uh, within that diversity of accounts that you have, you also have to own your own email list and website. You have to back all those things up because you don't know when the next attack is coming from and from where. It could be, something like a platform shuts down or what have you. Well, then you go to something else. You move to the next thing. But that way you're not dependent on your communications, being withheld by a company, by a media company. You can, directly connect with your audience, whether it's on Discord or in any other platform. And that way you can bypass any algorithm, whether it's from YouTube or anybody else, in order to get your messages out, right? As far as income streams, he already does this. Some of the building blocks that he has for diversification, he has them already on there, right? He already has some of these accounts. But of course, you have merch and what have you, um, that he can sell, in other sources of revenue. They're never going to be as much as the platform, but it adds up. You know what I'm saying? For people that really want to back them up, whether it's Ko-Fi or direct funding, crowdfunding, those kind of things, if that's what you choose to do. Now, when you think of your your channel and you're making, I don't know, let's just say an average salary. I don't know how he makes, guys. I have no idea, right? But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you make $60,000 a year making content, right? Which is like the average salary here in the US or something. Okay, then you need to treat it as a business that would give you, that would be giving you that kind of salary. You have to put some of that money aside in order for you to have some, legal and policy oversights, even if it's once a year. If you're making that kind of money, spend $500 for a lawyer or a professional, whatever professional you want to hire, who can read the policy statements for you, that you understand them in terms, in plain English, basically, right? Because you don't want these changing rules. It could be metadata, or in his case, what he's saying, he's uploaded some stuff, but you definitely don't want to be in this kind of situation. Let's hear the intro real quick.
DJ Slope here. This is a horrible video to have to make, and no YouTuber wants to make this video. It's not clickbait in any way whatsoever. This channel is set for deletion, and it's actually so much worse than that as well. I'm going to get into it all in this video.
So the channel's set for deletion, but his whole Google presence is set for deletion based on something that he uploaded. At least that's what he thinks, based on something that he uploaded to the Google Drive. He was trying to do an investigation on somebody and downloaded, a conversation thread or something, put it up there, and that thread contained some spicy stuff. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so because of this, as I was saying, you need expert advice on running a business, even if you're just starting, right? It's okay if you're just starting a new business or whatever, and you hit success by whatever means. You need to hire expert help at certain points, right? There's certain things you can't handle, especially when it comes to legalities and stuff like that. You might even need a content lawyer, depending on what kind of content you make, right? You don't want to end up like Carl Jobs. And what is that called, right? In a business, you're calling it risk management planning. And this involves everything, guys. You need to have, for example, an emergency fund for when these things happen. It could take several months for an issue to resolve. It could be 90 days. So you need at least 90 days of operating expenses, or your income, for example, to write out, an unexpected takedown, right? And you need to also, right, using risk-based thinking and planning, you may want to have a recovery playbook. You already know what kind of content you make. You already know what kind of problems you may have. So you need to have, pre-drafted appeal updates, which could be part of your strategy when you consult your lawyer. Okay, read the terms of service, and based on the terms of service, I want you to write me some pre-drafts, right, for appeals in case I need to make them in the future. Pretty easy, right? But again, they're going to cost you money. They have to be part of your business budget. Remember, this is a business, right? Once you're making this kind of money, it's a business, and you're treating every single media platform as a revenue stream. And one of them might go down at any point, and you have to be prepared, right? And so now you're using that risk-based thinking, and of course you want to diversify. You want to have a community and brand presence, right? You need to foster direct communication with those fans that actually support you, right? A lot of people watch your channel, but there's few fans that support you, that actually are willing to sign up for your channel. And hey guys, if you do wish to sign up and see all the videos that YouTube doesn't want you to see, make sure you become a member. There's plenty of videos that I had to make members only because of YouTube's policies and the shadow ban and all that stuff. So stay up for that. So you need to foster a direct community and brand independence, right? Using Discord, email, newsletters, whatever you have, right? I don't have that kind of content, so I don't need to make any of that, but he does, right? He does research, he does investigative work. So all those are things that people would like to see, maybe behind the scenes, and maybe pay for, right? And then you have to express your core values to your community effectively, right? So they know what they're purchasing when they purchase it, and they know that they're going to get the same thing across all platforms. So if YouTube goes away, maybe they'll go to Kick, or maybe they'll go to Rumble, or wherever else you're at, because they know what to expect from you. It doesn't matter, where you go. And you have real world examples that have happened before. Uh, you know, People have gotten banned for like spam or something, deceptive practices over like ads, crap like that. And you can even defy the media collapse, right? Remember, what was it, 2018? When a lot of, YouTubers just quit because they couldn't make enough money, because of the changing policies, and Leafy was gone and everybody was gone because the content moderation was so different, and it wasn't profitable anymore to have these channels and spend your time doing that, right? So what's the key takeaways here, guys? Let's wrap it up. Number one, you have to think of risk, right? And you have to have a strategic response to that, right? If you get a platform ban, spread your contents, across multiple platforms, and make sure that you're able to communicate with your audience. There's policy shifts, so make sure that you have somebody on retainer, somebody that can help you, so you don't go through these kind of things, right? Somebody that can actually check the agreements every year, like do a fresh up and have templates ready to go if that's the case, right? Know how to deal with sudden demonetization, right? Not only by maintaining diversified streams of income, but by having savings of at least 3 months, because that's how long it might take to get your channel back up. And also, just build your audience up in the background with different strategies like emails, Discord, Patreon, whatever it is, in case, right, something happens and you don't get that audience loss, you can direct them somewhere else. All right, so, just to wrap it up, if Slope wants to protect, his brand in the future, hopefully this gets resolved. you know he needs to view himself as a business, as a brand, and YouTube is just a single distribution stream within that brand, within a larger business, right? And that business includes email, merge, podcast, alternate platforms, and has legal safeguards, emergency funds, and engages with his community directly. I wish him the best. And this is a note for him and anybody else out there, to start building a proper business plan when you have a business, so you're proactive with these things and not reactive, right? This is what happens to most people. They get into something like this and, they become reactive. You have to react to whatever happened to you. When you're proactive, you already have a plan for when these happens, and you're more than ready, right, for whatever comes your way. I wish him the best luck. I wish that I could help more, but these are my 10 cents, and I hope it helps anybody out there who likes to pursue this type of career. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.